Hello, here at the Regional Regenerative Ag Farming Forum, and I'm joined by David Marsh. David is one of our keynote speakers today and had some really important points to bring across to our crowd. We want to share them with you at home. So, David, you're a farmer from down in the Boorowa region. Tell us a bit about your property.
Well, it's 814 hectares. It was a conventionally managed farm for probably 30 years. And then I started getting very uneasy about the things I was doing to try and make a dollar out of agriculture. I didn't like the simplified landscapes we were leaving behind. And so I started looking around for other things to do. The 1982 drought was a big wake-up call for us because our farm, like many, looked like a desert, and I felt very responsible for that. So I started looking around. Took me on about a 10-year search. But eventually I stumbled across the work of Alan Savory and managing holistically. Did a course, also did a bit of academic study, got a master's degree in sustainable agriculture from the Orange campus of Sydney University then. And we started doing things differently.
You mentioned in your talk this morning that as a farmer it's really hard just to stand by and let things be, but by standing by and letting things be, you can be amazed by the results.
Yep, yeah. I suppose the principle for that is that the world is constantly trying to be, and the trend of evolution has been to elaborate and diversify. Now agriculture really creates the opposite effect of that, and that is a really big issue for us now with so many people in the world. It wasn't such an issue. Like in 1800 there were only a billion people. 1900 there were 2 billion. 1980 there were 4 billion. So now there's 7.7 billion I think now. So the growth of humanity is a massive issue that we have to deal with. But we've got to get away from simplified monocultures. We've got to learn to do agriculture in the way that nature does it.
So by stepping back and stopping the inputs, you've seen your property diversify, you've seen it improve, and
Yep.
What sort of results are you seeing in your livestock?
It's a question that everyone wants to know. You know, what's happened to your stocking rate? And to me, the stocking rate's irrelevant. The question that I want to answer is, have I got the correct number of animals for the conditions at the time? And one of the issues that farmers have, and I was absolutely one of these. It would get dry, we would run out of grass, we'd start feeding, we'd be throwing animals onto a market that had collapsed. We went backwards financially every time it got dry. Now we know how to assess how much grass we've got, we know about growth rates, we know when we're overstocked and when we have more grass than we need and we can put other stock on. So we feel like we're in much more control. But our guiding light is looking after the landscape. That's the thing we're most passionate about.
They might not want to know about your stocking rates, but everyone wants to know about your bank rates. And you're certainly saying that by putting less into the land, you're actually seeing more come home because your input costs are so low.
Yeah, our input costs are minuscule. We spend more time thinking and reading and doing lovely things like coming up here today, which it's absolutely it's inspiring for us speakers that the LLS are putting this, that a day with the title that you've got, regenerative farming, that is just unusual, and it's incredibly, we're just inspired by the fact that you would put that on and that so many people have turned up.
There is a great atmosphere in there. Certainly there's a lot of collective learning going on, but there's obviously, there's a real need for this learning as well.
Yep. Yeah, look, I think the big thing when you start doing this different management is that everyone who's doing it is incredibly positive and they feel like they've got 100 options. Whereas in the previous model we had everything screwed up to fever pitch, we had our foot on the accelerator, we were throwing huge amounts of energy around, we were living in a landscape that was simplifying and wondering why we were finding it hard to make profits. This way of doing it, the profit is much easier to make because your costs are so low.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us today, David.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.